And this week on That's Based, we have a special guest. She is a friend of a friend. Her name is Chandra. She is an astrologer, and she is here to come help us make. I told you guys we were working on getting something together for predictions for 2023. We're a little bit late with it. It's cool. We had some scheduling issues. I'm also not
It's
an
my
easy
fault.
person to get a hold of, so I kind of get that too. But Chandra, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Nice to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm glad you came on. We, like I said before, we won't take up too much of your time, but we do kind of, so can you kind of explain to us what an astrologer is, kind of the difference between that and a psychic?
An astrologer doesn't have to be sensitive at all, actually. It's like if astronomy meant something. So it
Okay.
is literally where Mars is right now, what planets are doing what in what zodiac sign. There is no sensitivity involved.
Okay. Okay. So and you use astrology, is this to make predictions about the future, or is this more so kind of to
Um,
read what a person's going through in their life, or like a combination of the two?
so there's different kinds of astrology. A mundane astrologer would do like politics and global events, and a personal astrologer would look at your personal transits. And I did a reading on your chart, so that would be if you're having depression right now, where's Saturn at? If you are going through a divorce, you might be having some kind of issue in your chart with relationships. So it's kind of like an advising tool and a
Okay.
little bit of prediction. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, so I read yours on me, and wow, I think that's the most I've read since high school. Yeah.
It was a long chart, and that was the short one.
There was a lot go. So like I mean I can pull mine up, but if you can kind of just explain a little bit what that meant. Do you have mine in front of you, or
I can get it in front of me real quick.
okay. Yeah, let me pull it. I'll pull it up here too, just so we can just so I can kind of figure out what the like I got the gist of it. I just want to make sure that the audience kind of understands before we get a little bit deeper into this.
Sure. So I practice something called Hellenistic astrology, which is actually a resurrected technique. It's better than modernist astrology, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Um, but one of the things it does is introduce houses, and houses are where you have things going on in your life. So right now, I see that you have had Saturn making progress in your house of inheritance, other people's money, bank loans. And the thing about astrology is it's people think, oh, you can tell me the day I die. No, I can tell you the themes of the events for, a couple of months.
Okay.
And you're going to have Saturn coming into your ninth house in March, which is your religion, your spiritual beliefs. And it's probably going to cause a lot of problems for you when that happens. But so you've had Mars going through your 12th house of Gemini. That is your self-made downfall. So have you had any drama with traffic or communication or lung infections? These are the kinds of things that would be ruled by Gemini.
With traffic, you said?
Yeah, specifically commerce and transit.
I have drama in traffic every morning. That's so yeah, that'd be a pretty safe thing to say about me. So yeah, I mean
that's
it's
uh that's your Gemini 12th house talking there. It's probably been worse since August though, would be my guess.
yeah, I was just pointing out to my fiance the other day that I've got I call it the nightmare on 96th Street. Every time I
Oh
take
no.
96th Street, I hit every single light red, and I don't think I've ever hit one green. And I
Oh my
point that out.
gosh.
She thinks I'm crazy until she gets in the car with me and she sees what happens. It's like they know I'm coming.
The funny thing is that when you deal with planets, they rule all kinds of things. So Mars is the color red. So if you've ever
Hmm.
gotten a car wreck with a red car or you get stopped at red lights, this is Mars going like every chance that it
See,
gets.
I told you it wasn't just me going crazy. There was actually a conspiracy as to why I'm hitting these lights red. I'm tired of being called crazy for it. I
It'll
told
stop right at the end of March, I promise.
it better because I think I might get myself a stroke.
I love it.
So these are house. So define house, because when I hear like your third house, I think like Slytherin.
That's kind of true. So the houses are, if you look at your chart, I don't know if you can, that's stupid. Okay. An astrology chart looks like a pie that's cut into 12 pieces. And the houses never move. So it's like literally the numbers on a clock. And so like the first one defines you, and like the fourth one is like your house where you live, and like the seventh one is like your marriage partner, and like your 10th one is your career. And these are the big important ones.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of it fills in the rest of your life. And there is just room for just about everything between the signs, the houses, and the planets. So the zodiac signs would be like the minute hands, and they change about every hour where they're at as the planet turns physically. Those are constellations that are specifically on the plane of ecliptic around the planet. And then the planets are like the hour's hands. They move throughout the night as they see fit. The planets, I think the original name for planet is Wanderer.
Mm-hmm.
And so they move, and then some of them move faster than others, like clearly Mercury moves very quickly, and like Saturn moves very slow. And Hellenistic astrology is just the 7 planets, the ones that you can see. So we've had to rectify the outer planets since 1700, where they've added, 3 new ones. And we kind of fill in with modernist astrology with that.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, so there's 12 of, okay, that makes sense. Okay, cool. So yeah, so I'm
Cool.
looking here at public reputation and careers. I mean, that's, I'm a stand-up comic. I run this show. I guess that's kind of, you got self-employment here. So I guess could you go a little bit deeper into that one? I guess that's the one that's
are you referring to your 10th house specifically?
correct. Yeah, the Aries, the
All
god
right.
of war. Yeah.
Yes, so you have Aries, and Aries in this position can be a professional athlete. It can be a professional military man. I see it in salespeople a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just told you were a really aggressive comedian.
Yeah.
And I love it. That is so great. But this is, the Aries is the guy who walks into a bar and punches someone and leaves.
Oh.
So for real, he doesn't finish anything. Aries is the first sign of March, where the animals are reproducing, and so it's his job to get all worked up and walk in and start things.
Mm-hmm.
And so Aries, you've actually just had Jupiter move through Aries very recently. And this is actually a time for growth in this area of your life. And here for the next 6 months, until I think it's May, you will have an expansion of career, of possibilities, and potentially really truthful communication in Aries.
And but by truthful communication, what do you mean by that?
So Jupiter is the planet of karma. It's a planet of honesty, but it's also generosity, but generosity in like truth and virtue, not generosity because I like to give you money.
Right.
So these are for everybody. It just happens to land in your 10th house of career, but we saw Jupiter move into Aries earlier and then retrograde back into Pisces and then move back into Aries. And when that happened, you saw a real attack on like woke stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you have Aries being the guy who's like, hey, I want to be a dick to you right now, and Jupiter being, yeah, but it's super true. Like nobody wants to hear your woke stuff.
Right.
And yeah, so for you personally, Aries would be career. It lands in your career and public reputation. So you're going to have, like I said, a boost of public reputation here soon.
Oh, I certainly hope so. I got plenty of bills to pay.
It's a Biden time of year, yeah.
Right. So you said the planets had an attack on wokeness. Going now, you've piqued Jupiter, my curiosity. Yeah. How do planets attack the woke? I'm all for it, for anyone attacking the woke.
So Jupiter, like I said, is expansion and generosity. So when he was in Pisces, Pisces is this sign that doesn't really know where boundaries ends, and it's really spiritual, and it's really aloof and kind of forgetful, and it's literally the sign of 2 fish with their tails tied together. Mm-hmm. Literally, this is how Pisces is represented. And yeah. so it like Pisces people are often really like, what? Like I was listening to the sky, and they can't help it. That's how they are. But also, so you have Jupiter moving in there, and it adds to this, not sure where I end and where you begin, and not sure where, am I a boy or a girl, or like what color am I for real on the inside? Your blood color. That's what colored people are.
Right. Yeah.
And so Jupiter's moved out of that, and he's gone into the like, I got to tell you something super ugly because I can. Mm-hmm. And so he has stopped giving energy to the people who don't know what kind of pee-pee they have, and started giving energy to the people who are like, dicks are for chicks.
Right. Right. No. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, if that's the type of person that's going to thrive over the next 6 months, I'm going to be a billionaire by 4th of July. So
that's awesome. And
Um,
don't for aggressive self-promotion. You should work on that.
that's okay. I think you're right. I need to be more obnoxious about how I promote myself. Write that down.
Yes. You should
Uh,
prank call people on radio stations and be like, Baba Booey or whatever.
oh, maybe we'll start a prank call thing here. I like
That
it,
would
but
be
we'll,
great.
we'll instead we'll just call people that run woke comedy shows around the Midwest, and we'll
Oh,
just mess with them. I think that's
that
a
would
good
be so
idea.
great. And
That
this is
maybe,
my name, and this is where you can find me.
yeah, maybe we'll add that to the show here as a little segment.
Love it.
So enough about me. So do you have any type of like predictions or anything, going for maybe just the country as a whole, going
I
forward
do.
into 2023? We'd love to hear them.
I absolutely do. So right now Mars has been making a ridiculously long tour through Gemini. I think I even saw an article that this is the most car wrecks that Nebraska has ever had, like
Mm-hmm.
ever.
Yeah.
So it's insane. But that's going to be over. I think it's March 27th. Mars moves out of Gemini. It'll move into Cancer where it won't be doing all the hot, I hate you driving.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we will have Saturn moving into Pisces. So Saturn is limits and restriction and worldly authority like governments. So Saturn moving into Pisces in March 7th. Saturn has been in dignity for the last 5 years, and Saturn represents government, not truth, not kingly justice, not divinity, like your boss, your governor, the president, the UN. So Saturn has had a lot of power, and
Mm-hmm.
Saturn moving, I think it's March 7th into Pisces, where Pisces doesn't know the boundaries, and Saturn is literally limitations. Like, this is the wall that I built, you can't cross. And I think Saturn and governments and authority in general are going to take a huge hit. I have some predictions you can take to the bank, but they don't happen this year.
Okay. Let's hear them.
Okay, so Uranus has been in Taurus since 2019, and this is a similar alignment to the Great Depression. And we've had food factories catch on fire, baby food catch on fire. We've had like recalls like no one has ever seen before. And so, even if it's engineered, this is still a very big sign of Uranus in Taurus.
Mm-hmm.
Taurus represents your comforts. It represents all the things you should take for granted: dinner, fancy stuff, riches. Taurus is a big fat cow that really doesn't like to move around. It
Mm-hmm.
likes to be bathed in gold and chocolate. So Uranus is literally the forces of chaos and upheaval, and it's basically just saying, you're not going to have dinner today because I said so.
Mm-hmm.
And every time, about every 18 months, Mars will make an alignment with Uranus, and then we get a news story that's something to the effect of like, all the cows are dead, and
Right.
no eggs exist, and things like this.
Well, there's a theory behind that egg thing. You talked about it being manufactured. It came out that they were actually the like general like store brand chicken feed. Once they
Yeah.
switched the chickens off of that, they were no longer had or they no longer had any issues laying eggs. So it was whatever was being made in the food was what was
Whoa.
causing them. Yeah, it was what or excuse me, what
Oh
was
my
making the
gosh.
chickens infertile. That's crazy, right?
That is coordinated.
When I say that
Absolutely
there's
coordinated.
that this is a controlled demolition, this is exactly what I mean, people.
I I support that wholeheartedly based on the alignments that I've seen.
Yeah. So it
100%.
so you do see alignments that would agree with my theory that we're in a controlled demolition.
100%. And like I said, Saturn being in dignity for the last 5 years. So there was actually an alignment for COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So Jupiter and Saturn, you could see it in the night sky about 2019. I think it was right around Christmas. The media was making this big deal. Oh, it's the closest Jupiter and Saturn have ever been in 10 million years. And you go outside and you can see them right next to each other in Capricorn. And Capricorn is literally the sign of walls, restrictions, prisons, governments. Saturn is in rulership in Capricorn, and Jupiter is expansion. So it's literally expanding limitations, expanding government, expanding your lack of fun, expanding your indoors 100%. And then COVID breaks out. And then Saturn and Uranus have been on and off again, making an alignment called a square, which is a really aggressive alignment to each other. So
Mm-hmm.
Uranus is chaos and Saturn is structure. So you see these weird, like January 6th events every time this square happens. And the last two elections have been really close to the Saturn Uranus square. And those are gone now. The very last one happened on election day, and we should be loosening up. The government's hold is going to start slipping, in my opinion, very, very seriously, very, very quickly.
And do you think that'll come from a politician taking office and changing things, or will it be more of a matter of just the average everyday individual citizen going, you know what, we're done here. I'm not doing this anymore.
Saturn isn't supporting governments anymore here at in the very 1st of March. But one of the things I think you're going to see is you're going to see a whole lot of I'm not going to take it anymore.
Mm.
Mercury is going to do a really interesting turn through Gemini with Mars real soon in, I want to say, the end of March.
Okay.
And so Mercury, every time Mercury makes a really interesting alignment with, like Mars is a really aggressive planet, it's literally conflict. You start seeing documents leaked, you see a whistleblower come out. So the second Mercury gets into Gemini, I think we're going to see like a, hey, I've got this stack of memos that says burn the food and give Ukraine nukes to, give to China or something stupid.
Oof. I mean, if Ukraine gets nukes, we're gonna need a lot more than the planets aligning. That's gonna be a bad deal.
I don't see Ukraine getting nukes, and I don't have a really good chart for Ukraine. Ukraine's having a Saturn return right now, and it happens about every 30 years. Saturn gives your life a pop quiz.
Right.
And both Russia and Ukraine are having a huge Saturn return right now.
Yeah.
And they're failing real hard, their pop quiz. So
right. So yeah, that's another thing, I guess, probably the most important question. I mean, do you think the Russia-Ukraine thing gets into a hot war with the United States? Do you think nuclear weapons get involved? I mean, how do you see this playing out?
So 100%, I can guarantee this. By 2026, the United States will be in a war. I don't know if it'll be in a civil war. I don't know if it'll be in an international war. I'm assuming we'll know, obviously, when it gets closer.
You said 2026, the United States will be in a war?
By the latest. So
okay.
There's a chart called the Sibley chart, which is a gentleman by the name of Sibley has forecasted that the day the Declaration of Independence was signed is actually the birth chart of the United States. And I like it. It checks out quite a lot. It's not the only chart, but it seems to make a lot of sense for the United States. And Sibley says that we're going to have a war every single time Uranus is in 9 degrees of Gemini. And I was looking at it. So in the Revolution, it was in 9 degrees of Gemini. In the Civil War, it is 5 days from the attack on Fort Sumter. It hits 9 degrees of Gemini. And it is right by D-Day, the very next time Uranus goes 9 degrees of Gemini. And it'll be in, I think, 1 degree of Gemini in 2026. I'm going to say in April. Yeah. I can get you an official date later if you want it.
No, yeah, you're good. Yeah. And then, like I said, we'll have you back on it toward the end of the year, and we'll kind of rehash over this stuff and see if I'm making my billions yet. And
we'll definitely work on that one.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good to know we're not going to get nuked, I guess. We do got to get wrapping this segment up here. So before I let you go, I gotta ask, we got the Super Bowl coming up. Who do you think? Who do you got?
Well, I can go cast a chart for both teams, and I can probably give you a winner.
All right, I'm gonna hold you to it, and then I'm gonna bet my rent on it. And if I lose, you're responsible. No, I'm giving you crap.
That might be a thing.
Are you on socials? Do you anywhere people can follow you or?
Yep, we have a company called Astro and Herb. We're on Facebook at Astro and Herb, and we have a convoluted website, astroandherb.wix.com/Astro and Herb.
Awesome.
So
awesome. Make sure you guys go check that out. I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much. Like I said, we'll keep tabs and see how right everything was, and hopefully you were right about us not getting nuked, and we can meet back up at the end of the year and talk about this again.
Excellent. Thank you very much,
All right,
sir.
Chandra, thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.